Tell me.
You do part A, under the hood, the front of the bus, to the wheel.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
No, sir. All right, here I go. I'm coming up to it. I'm checking my bus, make sure it ain't leaning. There's no fluids, puddles, or drips underneath of it. Now I'm going to come up and talk about my lights. These are my headlights and my bright lights. They're clear in color, they're secure, and they're not cracked or broken. They operate properly. Here's my emergency flashers and my turn signals. They're amber in color, they work properly. They're not cracked or broken. Now I'm going to go ahead and go up here, and I got my running lights on top. They're amber in color, and they work properly. They're not cracked or broken as well. Then I got my amber load lights and my red load lights there. They're operational, they're clean, not cracked or broken. Now I'm going to come across here, and I'm going to go ahead and unhook this side, undo it. I'm going to go over here to my mirror. My crossover mirrors, they're secure with nuts and bolts. It's not cracked, broken, it's adjusted properly. Now I'm going to go ahead and go over here to my other side and open it up. Now I'm going to come up here to the front, and I am going to raise my hood. As I'm raising my hood, I'm making sure it's fiberglass, not cracked or broken, no obstruction of my view. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go ahead and get all my fluids while I'm here. I got my wiper fluid right here. It's secure, nuts and bolts. It ain't cracked. It's got adequate level and it does not leak. The lid's secure and tight, and it doesn't leak as well. I'm going to go ahead and get my coolant. The lid is secure and tight. It does not leak. My hoses, clamps are secure, not loose or missing. And no loose or missing bolts. As you can see in my sight glass, it's got adequate level of coolant. Okay, now while I'm at it right here, I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of my hoses and clamps. They ain't worn, torn, and frayed. They're secure. They're not loose or missing. And no signs of leaks. I'm going to go ahead and go to my alternator here. As you can see, my wires to my alternator are secure. There's no loose or bare wires here. They're not cracked. And they're secure, no loose or missing bolts on my belt-driven alternator. And my belt, no more than half three-quarter play. It ain't worn, torn, or frayed. And under that, I got my water pump down here. You can see it's in here. It is a belt-driven water pump. No loose or missing bolts. It's secure. It ain't cracked. It's not cracked or broken. And it does not leak on my fittings. And hoses and clamps are secure and tight. They do not leak. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to the other side of the bus here. Now while I'm over here, I'm going to go ahead and get all my fluids as well. Okay, right here, just my transmission fluid. I'd pull it out, wipe it off, put it back in, make sure between add and full when it was started and in neutral. This one right here, this is my oil. I'd pull it out, wipe it off, put it back in, make sure between add and full. If I had to add, I'd add it up there where the lid is. Now I'm going to come over here to my power steering reservoir. It's secure. The clamps and hoses are secure and tight. They do not leak. They're not worn, torn, or frayed. I'd pull my dipstick, wipe it off, put it back in, make sure it's between the add and full on a power steering. Okay, now I'm going to follow my hose down here. I'm following my hose, and it goes all the way here. It ain't worn, torn, or frayed. Securely latches to my gear-driven power steering pump. The hoses and clamps, they do not leak. No loose missing bolts, and it's secure, and it does not leak as well on my gear-driven power steering pump. Okay, right there, right next to it in the front here, you can see on stainless steel braided line with the fittings. They're secure and tight. They're not loose or missing. My hoses and clamps are not worn, torn, or frayed. The clamps are secure and tight. No signs of leaks. It's a gear-driven air compressor. No loose or missing bolts. Doesn't leak. Now I'm going to come out here, do my steering linkage. No excessive movement. It ain't cracked or broken. My U-joints, no, it ain't worn. There's no loose missing bolts, and it's properly greased. Now I'm going to come on over here to my steering box. No loose or missing bolts. The fittings are secure and tight. They don't leak, not cracked or broken. Now coming down here to my pitman arm. The nuts and bolts secure and tight, and ain't cracked or broken. Okay, I got a crown nut and cotter pin on one side, my drag link. It ain't broken, loose, or missing. They're properly greased on each end, and I got a crown nut and cotter pin as well on the other end here. That's my steering components. Now I'm going to go to my suspension. I got a leaf spring hanger right here. No loose or missing bolts. It ain't cracked or broken. No weld repairs. There's my nuts and bolts. There's a rubber bushing inside there. It's not worn or missing. Then I got my leaf springs. They're not shifted, cracked, or broken. Now I got my U-bolts right here. They're not cracked or broken, not loose or missing. They're secure and tight. Okay, now I got my shock right here. It's secure with nuts and bolts over here on top and bottom, and it does not leak. That's all my suspension. Now I'm going to go to my braking components. My service line. It's not worn, torn, or frayed. The fittings are secure and tight. They do not leak. It supplies air to my brake chamber. My brake chamber is not cracked or broken. It does not leak. My clamp is secure and tight. No loose or missing bolts on that. I got a push rod right here. Okay, when it's released, I'd pull that out, make sure it wouldn't be no more than an inch of travel on that, and it ain't bent or broken. Now I've got my slack adjuster here. It ain't cracked or broken on it. The fittings are secure and tight, and they're greased fittings. Okay, no loose or missing pins with the carter keys. Now I'm going to go inside my tire here to my brake lining. My brake lining is not worn dangerously thin, which is no less than a 1/4 inch. It ain't cracked or broken, and no contaminants. Then I got my drums right here. They're not cracked or broken as well. No holes and no severe dents, and no contaminants on it. If I don't have them on my lining, I ain't going to have them on my drum. Now I'm going to come out here. I got even wear on my tire. I got 4/32 on the depth. And I got 100 pounds of pressure, or whatever's recommended by the manufacturer, and I checked it with the tire gauge. I come to the side. It ain't bulges, cracks, or dry rots. I'm coming to my rim here. My rim, there's no cracks, there's no weld repairs, and no rust trails. Okay, and then my valve stem right here. It's not cracked or broken or missing, does not leak, and it's got a DOT metal cap. Now I'm going to come out here to my lug nuts. They're not loose or missing. There's no rating cracks or distortion, and no rust trails on that as well. Then I go to my hub seal. Make sure it's got adequate level and it does not leak. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and secure my hood. That's all. Hey.